I'm here with rock legend Don Powell. Today we
How are you doing, Chris? All right, mate?
Magnificent. It's so good to speak to you. I have to say, it's a real privilege.
Nice one, mate. It brings back a lot of memories, this.
Yeah, we'll just have a little chat about various things, and we're going to get to your time at Cromer, Links and West Runton Pavilion, which you did several times in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. I always remember when we used to be driving towards it, we could see it on the hill before we got there.
What did you do to try? Was it all in a bus? Did you stay overnight in a hotel, or how did it work?
Didn't we stay there? One accommodation there at the Pavilion, West Runton.
Well, there might have been. There was a hotel opposite, still there.
There may have been that there, because I seem to remember I think either we stayed on site or it was pretty close, whatever it was. You know, Chris, I'm sure it was actually on site. I'm sure.
Oh, right. So did you go to the pub as well?
Of course.
That's still there. The Village Inn is still going great guns. So
wonderful. And is the pavilion still there, Chris?
Alas, no. I mean, the area still looks more or less the same. There's the big red building near it, and the white houses behind, and then the pub next door, and the car park is all still there. But they just built some houses little clutch of houses on where the pavilion actually was. What do you remember about the venue?
Blimey. Sorry?
What do you remember about the venue specifically?
Well, I remember we had a great time there because, everybody was so friendly, and you put in I remember Ronnie Carroll, the bouncer, because we had a laugh and a joke about that, because there was that singer from was it late 50s, early 60s, his name was Ronnie Carroll.
Yeah, Ronnie's still about. He still lives in North Norfolk. Bless him.
Lovely. Now we had a great time. Well looked after there. I remember it was a great gig, great crowd and everything, Chris. We had a fantastic time there.
Well, that's excellent. We'll just come back to that in a minute. Just for those who don't know, and there must be very few of them, could you just give a little bit about your history and Slade's history? Just give us a little...
Yeah, well, we started, Dave Hill and myself have been together since 1963. And we used to play. He was only playing the pubs and clubs around Wolverhampton at the time. And there was another band who did the same circuit, and that was Steve Brett and the Mavericks, of which Noddy Holder was the lead guitarist and backing vocalist. And their sort of group broke up around the same time as Dave and Mine's group broke up. And we just met Nod in this coffee bar in Wolverhampton and asked if he'd like to form a group together. And we auditioned for a bass player, and that was Jim Lee. And that's but our very first gig together was April Fool's Day, 1966.
They say that the secret is in recruitment, and you seem to have done quite well in that band.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. We had a fantastic time. We never stopped working. It was only, in those days, it was only like pubs and clubs and things like ballrooms and things like that. But we had a fantastic time.
It's virtually the soundtrack of the 70s, Slade. I remember as I was growing up, that was just one of the main bands going around. I'm just looking at some of the figures here, Don, and 6 number ones. That's no easy. 50 million records sold.
Incredible, eh?
And you went off to America as well?
Yeah, well, we toured all over the world. I remember in Australia when we got there. I remember when we landed in Sydney, there was all these TV cameras waiting, and we were looking behind to see who they were waiting for. I thought it was just somebody on the plane. They were waiting for somebody, and it was us. It was just like Slade Alive had gone gold 6 times, and we were just playing the enormous cricket stadium to about 60,000 people a night.
Oh, it's incredible! What a fantastic story!
It was incredible.
How did you cope with fame? Did you find that easy?
Well, the thing is, because the 4 of us were so close together, we've been through all the hard times, if you want to call it that, and all sort of the things about not being paid or whatever, sort of thing. So we really knew how to handle it. We just poor down to earth guys, still living with our parents at the time. even when we're still having number ones, we're still living with our parents. And I think that's what kept us grounded, really.
Yeah, the first number one was "Coz I Love You." I love that song. It's very simple, and
yeah.
And what was the feeling as that became successful and became number one? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, incredible. Because I remember, more so Noddy Holt, he was a big fan of Stefan Grappelli and Django Reinhardt. And like him and Jim playing volley, he used to just sort of jam that in the dressing room before a gig. And that's how they sort of wrote "Coz I Love You," really. And I remember when we recorded it, sort of we weren't quite sure, and that's why we put the stamping and the hand clapping on it. And I remember when we finished it, Chaz, who was like managing us, Chaz Chandler, who was managing us and producing our records at the time, he said, "This will be your first number one." And we just laughed at him. And then it actually got to number one in nearly 3 weeks. He went in the charts at number 26, then number 12, and then number one. And he stayed there for 4 weeks. And that was it towards the end of 1971. It's just a fantastic feeling.
Chaz wasn't wrong, was he? There was a whole string of classic stuff after that. Mama, Weer All Crazee Now, Come On, Feel the Noise, Merry Xmas Everybody. A few people might have heard about as well.
Yeah, that one. I'll tell you what, Chris, is amazing. Like you said, we've had 24 hits, and people still only talk about that one. It's incredible. And I'll tell you what, the day we recorded that, Chris, we were on a world tour, and we were in New York. It was in the summer of '73. And from there, we're going on to Australia and Japan. So Nod and Jim had got this song, and Chaz says, we have to get in the studio to record it. We had about a week off in New York, and Chaz booked the studio, and we had to do it in the summertime in '73. And we had to do it then so we could get it back to the UK to get ready for the Christmas market. And there was like a heat wave in New York, and there we were singing Merry Christmas. And we had strange looks on the American technicians, would you believe, but would you believe, Chris, we didn't want to release that one, because when we heard it, we thought, no, we're not really sure. And I remember Chaff saying, I don't care what you lot say, this is coming out. And it was just unbelievable. Even now, it's just unbelievable. We had a gold record. The first day of release, we got a gold record for that. And since then, I've got a platinum because it's there every year, isn't it? And it doesn't matter where you go. It gets embarrassing sometimes. I think the worst one was we were on tour one time. It was last year or the year before. I remember I was in this hotel, in this lift. We were going down. The lift was quite busy, and I was at the front bar of the doors, and it was playing over the system in the lift. And I was just standing there, sort of biting my lip, and I could hear this guy. He didn't see me. This guy standing behind me saying, "I'm so fed up with this bloody record." And I turned around and looked at him. He went blood red. It was funny. At the same time, when I was in the supermarket once paying for my groceries, and he was playing over the system. And the young girl behind the counter was singing it to the top of her voice, and she looked up and she went bright red. And some funny things. It's incredible, really. A lot of after it was released, a lot of when we got booked to do certain concerts, a lot of the time there was a clause in the contract that we had to play that song.
Yeah. I remember you used to play it off season all the time. It was. Yeah. It was just like one of those things. You just had to do it. It's unbelievable, really. There's no way I would have. If you'd have said to me, they've still been around now after when it was released, 40 odd years ago, like 1973. If you'd have said to me then it'll still be around now, I would have just laughed at you. Yeah, I think a lot of it's got to do with the likability of the band. Everybody loves Slade. It's just one of those bands, and you've just been around forever. I know there were ups and downs, but you got involved with the writing of some songs as well. Look what you've done.
Yeah. I wrote a lot of the early B-sides. Jim Lee and myself wrote, and on the Play It Loud album, that was basically Jim Lee and myself that really wrote that album. But the first song that Rod and Jim wrote was "Coz I Luv You," and it took them. I think it took them like about 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do that. And I thought straight away, well, that's obviously the writing formula. So I just took a back seat then and let them carry on with it. And they just came up with a great catalogue of stuff, didn't they?
Oh, didn't they? Yeah. Well, just to talk about, there's another interesting factor. I saw that you spent some recreation time with Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I mean, I haven't seen Ozzy for a couple of years now. The last time I saw Ozzy was when Sharon came at us with a shotgun. But, and she fired it at us. We were going back to his house. I was living in London then, Chris, and we've been out together having a liquid lunch, and he wanted to carry on, so we're going to go. We got some bottles of wine and things, and we're going back to his house and walked up the driveway, and Sharon came out the window with a shotgun, and we just threw the bottles in the air and ran down the driveway. We just got out the gate just in time, and she let it go, let the shotgun go, and he blasted all the side of a brand BMW they'd just taken charge of, and I went home, and I haven't drunk since, Chris. I haven't touched alcohol since.
Aversion therapy, that's the way to do it.
But I mean, I'll tell you what, he's one of the funniest people. He's such a lovely bloke, Chris. He's one of the funniest people to be with. The thing is, though, he's like a naughty little schoolboy, and you don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, I'd like to think he's like you see him on TV. That's what
he is. I mean, that Osborne show that's just the way it is. You know, I think he's the normal one. He's the problem that's got the problems. You know, but I mean, he's such a fantastic guy to be with. You know, he's so funny. I mean, he really is funny. But like I said, he's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do. But I will say one thing about him, Chris. He's never malicious. He never does things to be nasty. He's just like I say, he's just like a naughty little schoolboy.
Yeah, good old Ozzy. Everybody loves Ozzy as well. I'm really pleased his career kept going. I just want to move on to Flame the movie. At the very peak of Slade's success, about 1975, I decided to make a movie. And rather than doing a sort of poppy thing where you're sailing down the Thames in a boat full of another boat full of girls, that sort of film, he went for something a bit dark and gritty.
Well, that was a stipulation we did, because there was like Richard Longcrane, who directed the movie, and Andrew Birkin, who wrote the script. They came with us on one American tour just so we could tell them stories. I mean, most of the things that went on in the film Slade in Flame are actually true. Not necessarily about Slade, but different bands that we've known along all the years we've been together. And but we said to Andrew and Richard that we didn't, like you just said, Chris, we didn't want to do a jump around sort of happy-go-lucky movie. We wanted to sort of, just sort of make it a gritty film. But it did go against us, Chris. I will say that, because the general public couldn't separate that we were playing parts. It wasn't Slade in the film. We were playing parts, and they thought it was Slade and the arguments and the breaking up. But I'm still proud of what we did. I'm glad we did what we did, and like I said, I'm really proud of it.
Rightfully so. I mean, it's full of integrity as a film. It's a brave decision at the time. I mean, BBC film critic, BBC film critic Mark Kermode describes it as the Citizen Kane of British pop movies, and that's no small statement.
That's right. I remember that, and it's had great reviews from the people that know, sort of like the critics or whatever. But like I said, it did go against us in a way with the kids that were following us and things like that. Like I said, they couldn't separate Slade from the people in the film.
Yes, it's Interesting time, interesting decision, and I'm really pleased you did it. But it must have been
so are we, Chris. We're still proud of it today. You know, sort of. I went to a showing just a few months ago. We showed in a small theatre in London, and but I was invited to go along, and it was great because a lot of people there and obviously didn't really know Slade, but they thought it was quite. They thought, wow, that's something. I never realised it was going to be like that. You know, so I said I'm quite proud of it, Chris.
Yes, good. For a little period after that, you sort of went to America and came back, and the market had changed with punk and what have you, and so you went through a little bit of a downtime then. But then Ozzy Osbourne failed to make the Reading Festival.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we spent a lot of time in the States, and when we came back to the UK, the whole scene had changed, really. I mean, the punk movement had taken over, and we were so out of fashion, if you like. I mean, we basically started again, went back to playing small places, which I personally enjoy better, you know, and we just had to fight our way back again. And like you said, Ozzy dropped out the Reading Festival because in 1981, because apparently he thought he'd been rehearsing with his new band and he felt that they weren't quite ready. And we got offered his slot, and we weren't even billed on that show. I mean, we didn't even have any backstage passes at the time. We had to walk through with our suitcases with the crowd. And they didn't know we were on, and they were just sort of saying, you know, what are you lot doing here? I'm supposed to be playing here, you know, because we weren't billed. It was just short notice. And it just worked for us. We had a fantastic show. And the thing was, the BBC were recording it for the whole festival, and we bought the tapes off them and released like a live EP from the Reading Festival.
Yeah, I mean, Slade were fantastic live by all accounts. Sorry, leave me for a second. Yeah, so things went on from there, and you played at Cromer and Renton. You played at Cromer and West Runton around that time as well, several times.
Yeah. We had a great Cromer links, yeah, and obviously the West Runton Pavilion. Yeah, we had a great time each time doing that because. Yeah, because basically we are a live band, and that's what we're all about, and so we just love touring.
What about the dressing rooms at various places? I'm guessing they're not plush. Well,
I mean, what do you want these days? I mean, it's amazing. We just want somewhere just to change our clothes. That's all, and you know, that's all you need. I mean, we've had to change. I remember when we first started changing outside, you know, around the back of places, you know, because there was no actual dressing rooms, so we had to change outside or change in the van, you know, things like that. And I remember years ago, I think this was in Bristol, a small club in Bristol back in the 60s. I think it was like a cabaret type thing, Chris, and we were on with this snake charmer. No, I know. Try and picture that, right? And I remember, I mean, that's one thing I cannot handle is snakes. That's one thing I cannot handle is snakes. Anyway, I was sitting down, and there's the lady who's the snake charmer. I was just saying to her, "Where's your snake?" And she said, "You're sitting on it." I was sitting on this basket, and I shot out that dressing room. You know, but yeah, I was sitting on the basket, and that's where the snake was. You know. But now I mean, we played when we got stuck in the Bahamas in 1968. I mean, that was an experience on its own, that one.
Yeah. Great stuff. So how are the other band members doing?
Great, everybody's great. You know, we still keep in touch, you know, and occasionally it's been cancelled in a couple of months' time. There's about 30 of us, you know, have a get together, have a lunch in London, in like a restaurant. We take a top floor of this restaurant, and all musicians, actors, and writers and things. And I always get together. Noddy Holder's always there, so we always get together. Me and Nod always get together, have a good laugh, you know. So it's now everything's great. We still email and speak to each other, so everything's okay.
Good. I'm really happy about that. It's nice to think you're still all getting along. I've got to mention.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, after so long together, Chris, I mean, it's like I always say to not Jim and Dave, you know, so I know you a lot better than I know my own brother. You know, so and that, because we know when we've been sharing bags of chips in the back of the van when we first started, things like that. You know, I mean, we were so close. It helped us a lot in the early days, Chris.
You must have bonded. I mean, you spend a lot of time together, as you said, in a very close and sometimes a tense environment. I don't know if you ever. There's a famous tape. Was it the Trogs recording a song?
Oh, incredible! I remember speaking. Actually, Red Special used to go to these lunches, and he was saying that after that Trogs thing, when they got recorded secretly, they became more famous after that because of that tape than before. You know, but it was funny. But actually, it's quite frightening what can happen if you're not careful.
Right, I'm going to try and sum it up now, Don. Very kind of you to speak to us. What do you think?
No, I really enjoyed it, Chris. Thanks a lot, mate.
What do you think Slade achieved? What's the legacy, really?
Well, I think I think because we're like brothers, and it comes across like that when we play on stage. It's like we've never been out to preach a message, Chris. We've always gone out, and we're having a great time on stage, and we want the audience to have a great time as well. We're just there to have a great time and let a crowd have a great time as well. And I feel really proud about that.
Yeah, you gave so much. I mean, you're still appreciated very much now. I mean, there's some American bands have done some covers, and then Oasis, of course, famously did a cover.
Yeah. It's gone fantastic, Chris.
Marvellous. And just lastly, what are you happy? And one thing more to go back to is your health. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I had that stroke like last October. That was the weirdest thing. I mean, sort of like my right arm and leg went just lost the feeling out of it, and I was walking towards to get my train, and I just collapsed my leg. I hadn't got a clue what it was, and it was just a small stroke apparently. And but I feel great. I mean. I've got a certain lot of exercises to do and what have you, but no, I feel really good, Chris. I'm back to normal.
Everybody will be so pleased to hear that.
I have so many fantastic emails and messages from people. I spent nearly a week replying to them all, but I was so appreciative of everything, of all the thoughts and wishes from everybody. It's fantastic, mate.
Fantastic, Don. That's Don Powell from Slade. Thanks, best wishes and good health, and thanks so much for speaking to us. This is Chris Sadler reporting for BBC.